What is Love? The First Seed. Tony Rose. Text copyright Tony Rose 2023. The moral rights of the author have been asserted. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced by any mechanical, photographical, or electronic process, or in the form of a phonographic recording, nor may it be stored in a retrieval system, transmitted, or otherwise be copied for public or private use, other than for fair use as brief quotations embodied in articles and reviews without prior written permission of the publisher. The information given in this book should not be treated as a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult a medical practitioner. Any use of information in this book is at the reader's discretion and risk. Neither the author nor the publisher can be held responsible for any loss, claim, or damage arising out of the use or misuse of the suggestions made, the failure to take medical advice, or for any material on third-party websites. Thank you. To my beautiful mother Louisa, I use words to create pictures, but it's been challenging for me to detail my gratitude for you, and I don't have enough time to try and do so. You are the womb man of my life, the fertile soil that allowed me to be planted into heaven on earth. Physically, you have provided for me more than you will ever know or remember, and it is because of you that I was afforded the time to work on myself, so that I could be in a space to share these experiences. There were times that I wanted and expected a different kind of love from you, but I would always remind myself that you were doing your best to express your love for me in the only way you knew how, and by doing so, you had been playing your role perfectly. Leaving blanks in the story of our relationship encouraged me to learn how to fill in those blanks for myself, and for that, I thank you. You have and deserve my eternal gratitude, because without you, I would not be here now. I thank you and I love you. For the curious, if you follow the breadcrumbs, they will lead you back home. Preface. The entire collection of the Fertile Mind series are only an expression of myself and my experience. I am the ultimate creator, and if I am, then you are, which means everyone that creates is the ultimate artist. As we know, art is never finished, it is only released. So at the point of releasing this work, I felt that there was no way that I could have made this work any better. We tend to look back at our artwork from the past with a fresh perspective and see new ways to approach that piece of art. We see how to make it quote-unquote better or quote-unquote different, but this would imply that we have assumed the role of the judge and are now judging our previous level of perception. But with our own evolution through life, experience, and sharpened skills, we would have acquired more time, knowledge, and wisdom practicing our medium. So, I can only suggest that you look back at your previous work as only younger evolutions of yourself, and not a less skilled, less talented, or less experienced artist than you currently are. This work is an attempt to have a conversation between family. So I extend your invitation to remind you that you are an integral part of this cosmic family. In Genesis, these stories and examples could be portrayed as heavy and negative because they may seem, sound, and feel uncomfortable. In Revelation, we will find that bringing these memories to light and developing them from my negative film role will have illuminated and liberated the collective consciousness. This occurs because you shape and mold your experience into beautiful pieces of art, which you can then exhibit to transform the lives of those that come into contact with it. This creates a unique museum with the works of your life on display, which will reflect a beacon of light that others can use to help them navigate the waters of this world. Although the Fertile Mind series will mention God, the Bible, and share interpretations of Scripture, I do not want need, or expect you to be a religious or spiritual person to relate, resonate, and or receive wisdom from this conversation. I would encourage you to not take my word as gospel, new thought, or the truth, but only be open-minded to it, taking what resonates with you and discarding the rest. Within the Fertile Mind series, you will explore how you are the cause and effect of your own reality. We expose mental diets, mental health, and a mental virus. We transmute old and inappropriate beliefs. We unpack how dangerous it is to give your children and their fertile minds away for others to cultivate. We share examples of how infectious life and death is, and explore how these seeds have either produced life or death into your garden of mind. I can only speak of what I know, and I only share an interpretation of my own experience, which means I may use stories of people that were or are in and around my life to portray a message that may resonate with you. So the characters in these stories, including myself, are only used as examples and are not to be judged or condemned. If at any point this book seems repetitive, it's because mentally we are performing the creative act, and this may require multiple penetrations. If you invest your attention into the words of this book, there will be a return on your investment. First, we must prepare and condition the soil to make room for new life. In its completion, a seed of love and life will be planted within your fertile mind. Your false identities may not like this because the truth will tear away a lot of the myths, stories, and beliefs that have formed it. At no fault of our own, we have been unconsciously tending seeds in our garden that we have grown attached to, forgotten who planted them, when they were planted, and or what fruit they may bear. Being the conscious gardener of your own mind doesn't have to be hard or painful, but in cultivating new soil and preparing for new life, it may feel like work that is uncomfortable and unfamiliar. So, if you have the courage to close your eyes to the old world and open your heart to the new world, planting only seeds of love and life, I promise you that the results are worth it. If you choose to continue reading, please know that these words are not intended to hurt, upset, or offend you. These words are only intended to love, heal, and remind you of what you intuitively already know. Thank you for your time and attention. Yours in reflection, Tony Rose. An intuitive reminding. I will start this conversation by reminding you that there is no bad news in the good news. It is now time to release all stories of the world being a hostile place of evil, punishment, and torture. If I and my Father are one, and I am, then He is not up there, out there, somewhere, or elsewhere. God is unconditional love. That is your North Star, compass, and guidance system, which means anything you think, feel, or do outside of unconditional love would be denying yourself. God gives birth to God. So you, the seed of God, in your own illusion of separation, are at a fork in the road of each moment. You have the privilege to either turn away and deny, or turn toward and accept unconditional love. You are God, here to experience yourself, and your only job is to let love rule. If you receive this message, know it in your heart and accept it as true. There is no need for us to continue this conversation. The journey begins when you say yes to it. Chapter 2. What is love? No, really, what is it? Where is it? How does it feel? You have it, you are it, and your only job is to simply accept it. So let's explore it. Although this book will do its best to interpret it, I cannot describe it, and I cannot explain it. You must simply experience it. I can talk about it, I can say that I'm expressing it, and I can try to manipulate people with the word. One thing is for sure, I cannot buy it. I cannot sell it, and I couldn't get rid of it if I tried. If money is the currency that we trade value for value, could we use money to buy love? Would money buy love in your life? If you take care of someone financially, are you buying their love, or are you buying their time, attention, and loyalty? Would you be trying to buy love, or are you paying for your guilt, fear, and shame? You may wonder why you would do this out of guilt. Because you may look at someone that you went to school with and feel the need to take care of them. You may wonder why you would do this out of fear. Because you may look around at how your life has turned out and feel the need to no longer be alone. You may wonder why you would do this out of shame. Because you may look around at how your life has turned out and be riddled with regret. Can you buy the love of your friends and family? Do you need to? Would you need to? Can you buy the love of your pets? Do you need to? Would you need to? Could you sell it? How would you sell it? Who would buy it? Would it need to be bought? Must you buy it? Must you pay for it? Where does your mind go when trying to answer these questions? Do you think about having material objects to show it? Do you think about having to give or do something in return because you received it? Do you think that you can't get something for nothing? Let's invest your attention in the following choice of words. You can buy someone's material possessions, but you cannot buy their love. You can buy someone material possessions, but you cannot buy them love. You can buy someone's time and attention, but you cannot buy their love. You can buy someone time and attention, but you cannot buy them love. You can buy someone's sexual experience, but you cannot buy their love. You can buy someone a sexual experience, but you cannot buy them love. In short, love is the master key that opens all doors. Love is a conscious pause to experience the present moment. I was reminded of this as I paused to contemplate my hands whilst they tapped away on the keyboard as I wrote this book. I could describe it as my hands were on autopilot as we are one in complete union, mind, body, and spirit. Even the keyboard was an extension of Source because I am the conduit between heaven and earth. Love is an attitude of gratitude. As I meditated upon my hands in complete flow on the keyboard, I was amazed and in complete awe of the magic that I am. It, the almighty power within me, that is who I am. It sees all, knows all, can do all, is all, and loves all. Love is a smile, a warm embrace. It is admiring a bee whilst it's collecting nectar from a flower. Love is sitting alone, in silence, and being whole. Love is taking a bite out of your favorite fruit and experiencing the flavors on your tongue. Love is an invitation to a universal party, regardless of job, height, gender, color, age, or story. Love is showing up. Love is showing up to the party, no matter how tired, hurt, and betrayed you feel, because love is forgiving, and forgiving is forgetting. Love is being present with all of your emotions, allowing each of them to be seen, heard, and valued like the children that they are. Love is acceptance of all that was, all that is, and all that will be. The invitation is unconditional. It invites you to bring, share, and express your gifts. What is your gift? You know that thing that you always do, offer, or naturally provide? Is it providing your pasta with cheese and white sauce for the guests at this party? Is it providing your homemade lasagna for the guests at this party? Is it providing your brownies with natural ingredients for the guests at this party? Is it being able to make the guests at this party feel safe? Is it being able to make the guests at this party laugh? Is it being able to listen to the guests at this party? Is it being able to provide different dietary dishes for the guests at this party? Is it providing the soft shortbread Italian lemon biscuits for the guests at this party? Is it providing music for the guests at this party? Is it providing lighting for the guests at this party? Is it providing plumbing for the guests at this party? Is it providing furniture for the guests at this party? Is it providing art to inspire the guests to admire at this party? You might only bring your attitude to the party. You may want to sit in the corner, sulk, moan and groan. You may want to complain about the party and all the people at this party. You might only bring your appetite to this party. You may bring nothing but your selfishness to the party, and that too is okay. You're still welcome to attend this party, as it's all love. It's unconditional love, but unfortunately, you won't enjoy your time here. The good news is there is no bad news, and it's never too late to turn things around and start enjoying the party. Go outside. Get yourself some fresh air. Breathe and come back in when you're ready. I wouldn't have enough time to write all the gifts that people bring to the table for this party. At the end of this chapter, I would like to offer some techniques that have helped me. They will aid to establish, strengthen, and build a relationship with your own heart. For now, let's continue to explore the question of what is love? Throughout the Fertile Mind series, you will hear me claim that you are God. God is who I am, and I am unconditional love. So the distillation of what and who you are is unconditional love. So let's recap. What is it? It is unconditional love. It could take credit, but it doesn't need to. Have you ever allowed someone the time and space to make their own choices? Have you done so knowing that you will be there regardless of their choices? Have you continued loving someone regardless of their choices? Have you done so regardless of your feelings towards their choices? If you look at a child that is trying to learn how to walk, do you judge and condemn them for not getting it right? Do you call them names and tell them to hurry up? Do you assume the child is lame and worthless because they cannot walk? Do you expect them to walk before they can stand? Do you allow them to figure it out on their own? Have you done so by ensuring they're in an environment that promotes and encourages their growth? Do you create a supportive environment that is unique to them and for them? Could that environment feel like terrible and hostile conditions to some children? Could some children say that their environment wasn't safe, nurturing, or loving? In hindsight, did those conditions, painful or joyful, promote and encourage you to be here, now, at this very moment? Does that sound like a conditional or unconditional love? Does that feel like a conditional or unconditional love? Could you change any detail of your life that have led you up to this very moment? Could you change any detail of unconditional love? Is unconditional love exchangeable? What is unconditional love? The brain thinks, but the heart knows. The mind will always want answers to the questions it proposes. This is the perfect opportunity to break down your current belief systems. Now is the time to uncover the truth through a simple game that replaces words. Let's play. Somewhere along the way, you have believed that the word replace is a terrible word. You might have assumed that it implies a personal attack with a gut-wrenching feeling attached to it, and you might refuse to identify with it because of the terrible connotation you have attached to it. If you are quote-unquote replaceable, or have been quote-unquote replaced, you tend to believe that you are no longer valued and are now worthless. It's time to change the story attached to this word. So let's break down the word. Replace. What do you notice? Is there anything that sticks out to you? Here is how the Oxford Languages claim to define the word replace. Quote, take the place of, unquote. Quote, put back in a previous place or position, unquote. It's no wonder why you have tormented yourself with this word for so long, but here's what sticks out to me. Replace. Let's rub out the old definition and give you the Tony Rose Love Languages definition. Replace. Quote, to put somewhere other than where it currently is, unquote. Even the old cynic wouldn't be able to deny or argue that definition as much as they'd like to try. Love is greater than self. self is greater than answer. In the first chapter, The Fertile Mind, the First Seed, I invited you to replace the word answer to self, which means the mind will always want the self to the questions it proposes. You seek yourself outside of you, but could you ever find yourself outside of you? There is a lot of out there, somewhere and elsewhere in the questions and answers the world provides. Once you have replaced answer to self and no longer seek yourself outside of you, you know there is something greater. At this point, you can replace the word self to love, which means your journey will feel like 3 different seasons of maturation. Wanting answers, wanting yourself, and finally being something greater than yourself. That quote-unquote thing is unconditional love. I should clarify that if you want, it implies that you currently don't have. Though you cannot demonize wanting, for it is the seed of desire that births life into your reality. On this tightrope of wanting and having that you walk, the desire to have must be temporary, short-lived, and released. Without a desire, there is no seed. Without a seed, there is no life. Without life, there is no experience. And without experience, there is no expression of you. Desire is the alpha, the beginning, whilst being is the omega, the quote-unquote end. So, to experience your desire and collapse time and space, you must live from the end. This is what it looks like. Be, do, and have. The majority work back to front. They work their entire lives to have, then do what they wish and hopefully be the person they've always wanted to be. You continue to seek what you are, but you can only receive where you are. So, when you seek the answers outside of you, you seek yourself outside of you. This means you are seeking unconditional love outside of you. The mind may conceptualize this, but still not know what it means. Unconditional love is who and what you are, and it is the answer to that which you seek. Yeah, but what is unconditional love and how does it feel? I'm glad you asked. And when you feel it, you no longer feel the need to ask questions or have answers because you are the complete wholeness that is. Yeah, but how does wholeness feel? You could try to label it, identify it, and describe it. You could say that it is the combination of peace, excitement, and satisfaction. Yet these are only words to describe the indescribable, because love, like wholeness, is indescribable. You can say that you love your puppy, you can say that you love your life and your partner, but you know that you cannot describe love. No matter how hard you try and or how educated you are, you cannot describe it. Like God, love cannot be named. It cannot be labeled. Even though you cannot put a word to the word. Love is the emotion, the energy in motion that moves at such a rapid pace that it feels stagnant, like a moving tire. When it's felt, there are no words. You do not want or need to speak. There is nothing to say or do because you are it. It is a feeling that allows time to dissolve and leaves you in a space of silence and fulfillment. You are the word, the complete embodiment of an idea. That is your natural state and who you are. In that moment of expression, you emit the frequency of love. There is nothing to say and there is nothing to do because you are whole. That wholeness rests in peace. That peace is silent, and that silence is loud in harmony. Words would only ruin the moment. Any movement or action would only ruin the moment. Love is. There is no need to say or do anything in your true expression. It is the expression of the moment of silence, fulfillment, and rest upon completion of the creative act. In that moment of rest, you float in the overwhelming bliss of wholeness, laying in silence and experience the fulfillment of your heartbeat. It is the most overwhelming, unfamiliar, yet familiar emotion and state of being. That is what unconditional love is, and that feeling is your natural state. That natural state is who and what you are, and you can finally be who you are once you let go of who and what you think you are. God is unconditional love, and if I and my Father are one, then I am unconditional love. If you made unconditional love your North Star, use it as your compass and guidance system. Each time you put a condition on your love, you would know that you have gone off course and need to self-correct. It is home. Notice the emphasized om. It's also spelt Om, O-H-M, or Om, A-U-M. It's been used for centuries by many Eastern religions as a mantra in meditations and prayers. It is not always pronounced like home, but not a coincidence that it can be. It is the sound of creation. It is the Earth's core frequency, 136.1 Hertz, and associated with light, warmth, and joy. Om is the Earth's frequency, which means the frequency of the core. At the core is the seat of man, the torus field of energy, and heart's rhythmic magnetic field. Your heart is the seat of life at the core of your being. Your heart is the core frequency. See image 1.a on page 28 of the Fertile Mind, the First Seed, for reference. Home is where the heart is. On a material level, we all know when we aren't at home. The spiritual level is no different. You have been a guest of the mind for too long, so now it's time to come back home to the heart, my love. Now, as promised at the start of this chapter, here are a few techniques that have helped me establish, strengthen, and commune with my own heart. Feel free to adopt them as your own. Number 1, the first technique. As you wake in the morning, unless you dictate which course your mind needs to be on, the mind will start its engine and take you down the track with the most momentum. The mind will take you down a train of thought to prepare you to perform your known routine ahead. That may be to get out of bed and make the kids breakfast. It may be to get out of bed and let the dogs out before they make a mess. It could even be to check your phone to plug back into a reality. Family, friends, news, and or gossip. You may check to see if anyone or anything from the external world is calling your attention. In doing so, you forget your intention because it's easier to get swept away in the current of life rather than having to swim. You might do this to reaffirm and confirm your addiction to feeling either wanted or unwanted by someone or something outside of you. It's nice to feel wanted, but there is no benefit to wanting or needing confirmation that you are. You may do this to plug into a familiar world because familiar is known and comfortable. This may be how you have lived your life up until this moment, and is the reason why you may feel like you're not in control of it. You're going with the flow of life rather than being the captain of your ship. Instead, you could use the flow of life to help take you to your destination. You're allowing the known, familiar, and expected to dictate your day. This course gets repeated daily and then dictates your life. It's why you may feel stuck on a loop, doing the same thing every day. The first technique is an alternative method to start your day. To avoid your morning being succumbed to a world that requires something from you as someone, somewhere, pause and rest for a moment. Notice the usual habits wanting to take place. Be conscious of the urge to get up and feed the kids. Be conscious of the urge to get up and let the dogs out, and be conscious of the urge to check your phone to, quote unquote, see what time it is. Each time you notice an urge arise is a victory. Each time you don't react to an urge that arose is a victory. You will start collecting victories before you have even started your day. Once aware of these daily rituals wanting to take over, settle them back down into the present moment. Now direct your attention to the area in your chest where your heart is. If you don't know exactly where your heart is, ask it. If it helps, you can place both your hands around your heart and or center chest area. Once you feel that you have made contact with your heart, take a deep breath. Inhale deep through the nose. Pause at the top with your lungs filled with air, and exhale nice and slow. For this technique, you don't have to exhale through your mouth unless you want or feel the need to. Breathe as if your heart is a rose, and the longer and deeper you breathe, the more the rose opens up and blossoms. Breathe as if you're breathing oxygen in and out of your heart. If you feel called to, imagine the oxygen is a soft green glow flowing in and out of your chest. Imagine the soft green glow is beaming out of your heart, lighting up your world and being reflected back to you. The longer and deeper you breathe, the more that you fill the world with your loving glow. Imagine that this glow is your unconditional love. You can also imagine that you're holding the whole world in your hands. Imagine holding a crystal ball like a snow globe. Inside this crystal ball is your earth and all the people within it. The soft green glow that is being emitted from your heart is now directed at the whole world in your hands. Do this as long as you feel inclined to. Continue until you feel satisfied that you have filled up the world with your unconditional love. Number 2, the second technique. The second technique can be a standalone technique used at any time of the day. You can start your day, end your day, or you can finish the first technique with this question. Upon first waking, ask the question, how can I love you today? Don't be surprised if you receive an answer. The answer may not come in a voice. It may come in the most subtle way, like a mental image, feeling, song lyric, or even a physical advertising sign. It might be through overhearing a conversation. It might be through a direct answer in conversation about something that was, quote unquote, off topic. If you ask the question during the middle or end of your day, tailor the question to suit. For example, how can I love you now? Did I love you today? How could I have expressed my love for you today? How can I express my love for you tomorrow? The same way these magical questions can transmute any type of relationship that you are in, platonic or otherwise, if applied and adhered to, it can transmute the relationship you have with yourself, your own heart. Number 3, the third technique. As a private boxing coach, I provided tailored sessions to each student, for each student. One key ingredient was teaching the true meaning of meditation. Throughout those teachings, breathing was always at the forefront of our session. The message is simple. If you control the breath, you control the mind. And if you control the mind, you control the body. It starts with the breath because the breath is life. To encourage my students to breathe, I would light up incense in the gym for a few reasons. 1, it would make the gym smell nice. 2, it would put my students at ease and allow them to feel relaxed. 3, and most importantly, in a small area, the smell and smoke of the incense would make you choke up unless you consciously breathed. This would force my students to become conscious of their breath. Notice how often they hold their breath and or how short and shallow their breathing is. The incense would force this to occur regardless of if they followed my instruction each time I reminded them. I learnt these tricks because what initially started as using incense for smell, I quickly came to the realization that the incense forces conscious breath. I would also use incense as a timer prior to having a clock on the wall. Later the clock allowed me to see the time, rounds, work and rest times, which made my coaching and our training more efficient. Incense are simple and efficient. Let's clarify that they are only a tool and this tool is outside of you. So you cannot give incense the credit or power for your breath, as they did not and cannot make you breathe. It is your deep intuitive knowledge, the great power within you that gives you the conscious awareness to breathe. Often when first meeting my students, I would ask them if they can hear their heartbeat. Many students would say no, and more often than not, there would be 2 reactions to the question. One group would be in a complete panic because they have now noticed that they can't hear their heartbeat, and the other group would have a puzzled look on their face. The puzzled look told the obvious story, that they've never placed their attention on their heart, which led them to wonder why they can't hear their heartbeat. After this played out, whether they could or couldn't hear it, and whether confused or in a panic, I would tell the student to close their eyes, place their attention on their heart, and listen for their heartbeat. This is the third technique. Close your eyes. Place your attention on your heart with the intention to listen for your heartbeat. If you can't hear it yet, that's okay. The connection and relationship will only get stronger. Keep your eyes closed and breathe. Inhale through the nose. Pause at the top with your lungs filled with air and release the air through your nose. Take a few of these deep breaths whilst keeping your attention on your heart. You will start to hear or feel your heartbeat. Why? Because home is where the heart is, and I want you to come back home. Home is the Earth's core frequency and the center of your torus field of energy. You can do this at any time of the day, upon waking, whilst looking in the mirror, in traffic, at work, or with the kids. Keep this tool with you to use anywhere, at any time, with your eyes open or closed. This is a powerful way to establish, strengthen, and build a relationship with your own heart. Psalms chapter 4 verse 4. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. This doesn't mean communing with your heart in your literal bed. That would imply that you need a physical bed and or need to be in bed to commune with your own heart. Being human, you know not everyone has a bed of their own, or even a bed in their home. If unconditional love required you to be in a bed to commune with your own heart, that would be a conditional love. A conditional love limited to only those that have a bed or are in bed, and I'm sure you can feel and hear how silly that sounds. Bed means chamber, and chamber means the safe place that you reclude to. Remember, the whole story within the Bible is of that which is unfolding within your skull. Your chamber is your skull, the one and only church, the church that man cannot build. The temple of God where he dwelleth, which means wherever he is, I am. I use male terminology because of the symbolism spoken about throughout the entire Fertile Mind series. Man plants the seed, and womb man houses the seed. Imagination and heart. Seed and fertile soil. Your safe place, your skull, is somewhere that you must and can always reclude to. You can do this anywhere and any time that you can be in a restful state. If you were at ease in a restful state, you would not be in a fight or flight state. You would not need to hunt or gather. You would not need to do this or do that. And you would not need to be here or be there. Your heartbeat is the most consistent thing you have in your life, and it is always with you. Incense to encourage you to breathe is wonderful, but what happens if you have run out? You don't have a flame to turn it on, you can't smell, or the extreme, you don't have a nose. Music during meditation is wonderful, but what happens if you don't have the internet, the song isn't downloaded on your phone, you can't hear, or the extreme, you don't have ears? The sun to gaze upon is wonderful, but what happens if the sun circles away from you, it's covered with clouds, you can't see, or the extreme, you don't have eyes? Do you switch to the moon? Great. But what happens if the moon circles away from you, it's covered with clouds, you can't see, or the extreme, you don't have eyes? A sweeping clock to focus your attention on is wonderful, but what happens if you don't have a clock? Your clock doesn't sweep, or the extreme, you can't hear, see, or feel it. Are you noticing a familiar pattern? All these things are outside of you, and experience with your material senses, your common senses, which means you cannot rely on them. So I end this chapter by asking you, what is love? This audiobook is the second chapter taken out of The Fertile Mind, the first collection of seeds. What is love? Tony Rose. Narrated by the author, Tony Rose. Thank you for listening to this audiobook. Thank you for your time and attention. Yours in reflection, Tony Rose.
This is love, this is love, this is love.
He's one of the best scientific minds we have today.